Yeah, there goes the sunrise. There goes the vitamin D. The world's only form of vitamin D, natural vitamin D, coming up. It's called the sunrise. And the day has officially began on the East Coast, Belmar, New Jersey. It's really early, 5:30 in the morning, Belmar, New Jersey, East Coast, USA. I think it's the appropriate setting to talk about the importance of vitamin D, especially when it comes to your immune system and being able to fight off respiratory illnesses, flus, colds, COVID-19 type stuff. You know, I've been reading up a lot on this whole COVID-19, and vitamin D is very important for our immune systems, and it's very possible that a lot of us are deficient in vitamin D, especially in the winter months. The reason why most flu seasons and cold seasons are in the wintertime is because a lot of populations are vitamin D deficient during that time. And if you look at the COVID-19 cases, they say the people that are most susceptible to COVID-19 and doing poorly with COVID-19 and actually getting very sick from it are people that are obese. And later on, the statistics show that black people are more susceptible to not doing very well with COVID-19. And if you can make the connection with vitamin D3, because if you think about it, people who are obese, who are heavy, are less likely to go out to the sun. They're less likely to expose their skin to the sun, and therefore they're probably more likely to be vitamin D deficient. Like, a lot of doctors are saying that obesity is a risk factor with COVID-19, but is it because people are heavy, or is it because heavy people, obese people, are less likely to go out and expose their skin to the sun? They're less likely to go on the beach, less likely to take their shirts off, and less likely to get exposure to the sun and get the very valuable vitamin D that they need. Maybe being obese is not a direct risk factor, but maybe being obese is a symptom which causes people to be ashamed to go out on the beach, lay out, and get sunlight. So with that in mind, I would like to say to all my chunky, fat friends out there, people like me, all you chunky, obese, fat people out there, don't be ashamed to go out there and lay out in the sun and get some sunshine. I know there's probably a lot of fat shaming going on with that. Also, the darker your complexion, the more sunlight you need to get your vitamin D. I mean, to get a good dose of vitamin D, typically, you don't need a lot of sunlight. You need about maybe 20 minutes. 20 minutes at around noontime would be perfect to give you plenty of vitamin D. If you look out into the sky, you see the chemtrails, when the whole sky looks like a big checkerboard of chemical trails that are pretty much blocking the sun. That also reduces our vitamin D levels. The geoengineering, aka chemtrails, yeah, I'm wearing that tinfoil hat right now, but I do believe it though. I've actually been seeing a lot less of the chemtrails since this whole COVID-19 thing's been happening, and it's been clearing up the sky really nice. Actually, the sky looks nicer than I've ever seen it pretty much in my entire life. It's nice and blue and clear. Check it out. Beautiful, no chemtrails. Another thing is the darker your complexion, the more melanin you have, the more time you should spend out in the sun getting sunshine. Because the darker your complexion, the less vitamin D you synthesize. I remember there's a song back in the 1990s. It wasn't really a song, but it was kind of like a spoken word song. It was called like Wear Sunscreen or something like that. And this guy's basically talking about how important it is to wear sunscreen. And basically, we've been told all our lives that we should be wearing sunscreen and we should be blocking the sun, and the sun is the enemy because the sun will give you cancer and the sun will kill you. And they've been basically vilifying the sun as something terrible. This is basically the medical science community telling us pretty much all our lives that the sun is the enemy. We should wear sunscreen, stay away from the sun, don't go out in the sun around noontime, and sun will give you cancer. But the truth is, the sun is actually healthy. It's our only form of natural vitamin D. So I would suggest we all go out and get some sunshine. Science has given us bad advice before, and I think the whole sunscreen thing is terrible advice. To vilify the sun and tell us not to get out into the sun, I think it's terrible. Should you wear sunscreen? Should you avoid the sun totally? I mean, that's all up to you. They say the sun can cause skin cancer, and I say, you know what else could cause cancer? Is a weak immune system. A vitamin D deficient immune system could cause cancer, and it could also cause all kinds of other problems, infections, COVID-19. So protect yourself, get that sunshine. Ike checking out. In conclusion, get your sunshine, especially if you're a fat guy, big guy. Don't be ashamed. Get that shirt off, lay out, get some sunshine. It's healthy. This is kind of a ghetto way of doing it, but I'm going to show you guys really quickly the Wikipedia for the Wear Sunscreen song. It was published in 1997 as an essay, a hypothetical commencement speech by columnist Mary Schmich. Originally published in 1997 in the Chicago Tribune, the essay gives various pieces of advice on how to live a happier life and avoid common frustrations. La 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 blah blah blah. The essay became the basis of a successful spoken word song released in 1999 by Baz Luhrmann. Luhrmann. Everybody's free to wear sunscreen. It was actually a hit. Strangely enough, it was promoted a lot on the radio. I'm on the CDC website, and right here are a couple of graphs. This is the annual rate of new skin cancers from 1999 to 2017. Now this is the total number of new skin cancer cases, and it looks like in 1999 it was about 40,000, and by 2017 it actually doubled. It's almost double, and it's at 80,000. That's for the whole population. And now that's important statistics, but the more accurate one here, you see how it's going up? The more accurate one here is the annual rate of new cancers per 100,000 people, which gives you a more accurate number in a sense where it adjusts for population growth. Even then, if you look at this, it's also rising. It looks like it went from like 15 to 20 from the years 1999 to 2017. That advice that all the scientists and medical professionals have been giving us about sunscreen, telling us how important it is to avoid sun exposure and to wear sunscreen when you go out into the sun. And I know a lot of people actually that religiously, every time they go out in the sun, they put on sunscreen. Every time they go to the beach. I even know some black people that do it because they're so afraid of getting skin cancer that they put sunscreen on every time they're out in the sun. Even with that advice, the rates of cancer, skin cancer, is going up. Actually, it's rising the more people use sunscreen. So I don't see why nobody's really looking at these numbers to address why this would be happening. Because more people are using sunscreen. We have to revisit that advice about avoiding the sun and wearing sunscreen all the time. We have to revisit it. We have to look into some more data and see if that advice is correct. Because vitamin D is extremely important for our immune systems. You know, vitamin D is like the X factor when it comes to especially respiratory illnesses like COVID-19 and influenzas and contagious infectious respiratory diseases. Vitamin D is like the immune system modulator. That's extremely important, and we don't want to be deficient in it, and we don't want to take too much of it because it is a fat soluble vitamin. It stays in your system and you can overdose on vitamin D. But I think the easiest way to not overdose on vitamin D is to just get some sunshine. Sunshine is the only natural way of getting it. It's not in our foods. If it is in in milk, it's because the milk has been treated. Vitamin D is not really occurring naturally in the milk, but it's been treated to have vitamin D in it. Especially in the winter months, we should consider taking a vitamin D supplement. I'm just saying, I'm not a doctor, and I don't play one on YouTube. I just read and I do some research and I try to put one and one together. And that advice of avoiding the sun and wearing sunscreen and all these chemtrails around us that are blocking out the sun, they call it the geological engineering is the word for it, where they're blocking out the sun. It's just not cool, man. I don't think that advice of avoiding the sun needs to be revisited by the medical community. That's all.